In the year 2105, humanity's first warship, the Titan, sat quietly in Earth's orbit. It was a massive vessel, unlike anything the world had ever seen before. Its dark metallic surface gleamed under the sun, while its sharp edges gave off an aura of danger. The warship had been built in secret, a project that had taken years of planning and even more years of construction. It was a symbol of humanity's ambition, a bold statement that Earth was no longer just a small planet in the corner of the galaxy. The Titan was designed to be the perfect weapon, capable of defending humanity from any threat that might arise. As the Titan prepared to leave Earth's orbit, the atmosphere around it was filled with tension. No one knew what to expect. The warship was unlike any other ship in human history, its technology far beyond anything that had been created before. It was equipped with energy weapons, shields that could withstand intense pressure, and a cloaking system so advanced that even the most sophisticated alien technologies wouldn't be able to detect it. The crew aboard the Titan had been trained for years, but they had never seen real combat. The mission ahead of them was a mystery, and everyone wondered if they were truly ready for what lay beyond Earth's atmosphere. Across the galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth, several alien empires watched with growing concern. For centuries, the galaxy had been dominated by powerful species like the Vantok and the Krell, who had mastered technology far superior to anything humans could dream of. These alien empires had crushed countless civilizations, spreading fear and control across the stars. But the rise of Earth's first warship changed everything. No one had expected humans to be capable of such a leap in technology. The Titan was a shock to the alien factions, and they began to monitor Earth more closely. It was clear that this new weapon could become a serious threat, one that needed to be dealt with before it could grow too powerful. Back on Earth, the leaders of humanity gathered to discuss the situation. They knew the Titan was their greatest achievement, but they also understood the risks it posed. The warship's creators were proud of what they had built, but they also feared the consequences. They knew that if the alien empires saw Earth as a threat, they would do whatever it took to destroy the warship and eliminate humanity as a potential enemy. The leaders had no choice but to send the Titan into deep space, hoping that their ship could show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. As the Titan ventured farther from Earth, its presence was detected by the first alien scouts. Strange energy readings started to appear on the outskirts of known space. The aliens were puzzled at first, unsure of what to make of the readings. Then, as the ship continued on its course, more advanced alien vessels moved in to investigate. Their ships were fast and stealthy, capable of sneaking up on any enemy. They knew how to destroy planets if necessary, and they had no intention of letting a human warship threaten their dominance in the galaxy. The aliens were cautious at first, sending only a few ships to observe the human vessel. They watched from a distance, trying to analyze the Titan's capabilities. However, the longer the humans traveled, the more anxious the alien commanders became. The unknown power of the Titan was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The alien factions began to hold secret meetings, debating what to do. Should they destroy the Titan before it could gain more strength? Or should they wait and see if it was just a fluke, a one-time anomaly in human development? The fear began to grow, and soon the decision was made. The Titan had to be stopped. But no one knew exactly how to accomplish that. The aliens had the numbers, but they didn't fully understand the power that humanity had unleashed. The Titan was not just a ship, it was a statement. It was a symbol of humanity's willingness to fight for survival, no matter the odds. It had the power to destroy entire fleets, and its crew was determined to push forward, even if they didn't know what lay ahead. As the first alien ships moved into position, the crew aboard the Titan was preparing for what they believed was an ordinary patrol. They had no idea that they were being watched, no idea that their ship was about to become the center of a galactic conflict. The crew was still learning how to use the ship's advanced systems, but they were confident in their training. They had been told that the mission was to establish humanity's place in the stars, to show the universe that Earth was no longer a primitive world hidden in the corner of the galaxy. But all of that was about to change. The Titan's first encounter with alien forces would send shockwaves through the galaxy. It would mark the beginning of a new chapter in human history, one that would forever alter the balance of power in the universe. And no one, not even the crew aboard the Titan, could have imagined how much their journey would reshape the fate of Earth and all those who lived in the stars. As the Titan ventured deeper into space, the alien empires grew more and more alarmed. The initial curiosity had turned into outright fear. The galaxy's most powerful factions, the Vantok and the Krell, had never seen anything like this. The Vantok, known for their immense strength and terrifying fleet, had ruled vast swaths of the galaxy for centuries. They were used to being feared, used to destroying any species that dared challenge their authority. The Krell, a race of highly intelligent beings with unparalleled technological advancements, controlled vast networks of planets. Their reach was wide, and their grasp on power was unshakable. The idea that humans, a young species from a backwater planet, could create a warship powerful enough to challenge these empires seemed impossible. Yet here it was, the Titan, sending ripples of uncertainty across the galaxy. The alien leaders knew they had to act quickly. The humans could not be allowed to become a threat. They had to destroy the Titan before it could gain more strength or allies. Behind closed doors, the leaders of the alien factions convened. The Krell had their own ways of gathering intelligence, using sophisticated spy networks to monitor the galaxy. They had detected the strange energy patterns emanating from the Titan and were beginning to piece together the capabilities of the ship. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The Vantok, too, were gathering their forces, preparing for a possible confrontation. They were the military might of the galaxy, and they had no intention of allowing a human warship to challenge their reign. The Krell, with their advanced technology, believed they could easily defeat the Titan. But they were cautious. They had dealt with many species in the past and knew the importance of being thorough. The Titan had to be analyzed more closely. If it was indeed a true threat, they would need to act with force. If it wasn't, they would have to ensure the humans understood their place in the universe. Meanwhile, the Vantok were already planning their attack. They believed in swift, overwhelming force. Their fleets were large and powerful, with weapons capable of devastating entire planets. They had no doubt that they could destroy the Titan in a direct confrontation. But there was one problem. No one knew the true capabilities of the human warship. The alien commanders didn't want to risk sending an entire fleet into battle only to find out that they were outmatched. The Titan had struck fear into their hearts, but they could not afford to make a mistake. At the same time, the crew of the Titan remained unaware of the danger closing in around them. They had been told to expect peaceful exploration missions and to establish communication with potential allies. The warship's primary purpose was to showcase humanity's strength and technological progress. But with each passing day, the crew could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. They had trained for months, but none of them had ever imagined that they would be the first humans to face such immense and dangerous forces. The ship's captain, a seasoned officer named Captain Ray, stood on the command deck, staring out at the vast expanse of space. She had spent years preparing for this mission, but nothing could have prepared her for what was happening now. The Titan had made its first major jump into deep space, and the crew was beginning to realize that the galaxy was far more dangerous than they had ever known. Ray turned to her officers, her face a mask of calm determination. "We're not alone out here," she said quietly, her voice steady but firm. "We need to stay alert. We don't know who's watching us or why. Our mission is simple: show humanity's strength. But if things go wrong, we'll have to fight for our survival." Her words, though meant to reassure, did little to ease the tension in the air. The crew had heard the rumors of alien ships watching them, but no one truly believed they would encounter any real threat. They had always been taught that humans were too insignificant for the galaxy's major players to bother with. But now, the Titan was sending out signals, and the aliens had taken notice. As the Titan continued its journey, it became clear that the alien forces were preparing for something big. The Vantok and the Krell weren't the only ones watching. There were smaller factions, races that had been oppressed by the larger empires for centuries, who were now seeing humanity as a potential ally. They knew the Vantok and Krell had no intention of letting humanity rise to power. But if the humans could prove themselves capable, they might be able to tip the scales of power in the galaxy. Still, the greater alien factions, Vantok and Krell, remained focused on destroying the Titan before it could rally support. They knew that humanity, though young and inexperienced, had an incredible advantage: their warship. Its power was unmatched, and its secrecy made it even more dangerous. If it fell into the wrong hands, or if it became a symbol for an uprising, it could become an unstoppable force. But how would they stop it? No one was sure. The Titan was still a mystery, and its creators had no idea what the aliens were capable of. It was clear, however, that a storm was brewing in the galaxy, one that would change the fate of humanity forever. The crew of the Titan had no idea what they were about to face, but they were about to find out just how far the shadows of fear stretched across the stars. As the Titan continued on its course, it unknowingly crossed into the line of fire. The stage was set for an encounter that would send shockwaves through the galaxy and force the aliens to reconsider their long-held belief that no species could challenge their dominance. Humanity was about to learn that space was a far more dangerous place than they had ever imagined. The tension in the command center of the Titan was palpable. Captain Ray stood at the helm, her eyes focused on the holographic displays in front of her. The crew, once confident and hopeful, now found themselves grappling with the reality of their mission. They had ventured into deep space, with only whispers of alien life lingering in their minds. But now, something had changed. The ship's sensors had picked up strange energy signatures, faint but unmistakable, coming from a distant quadrant of space. Alien ships, cloaked and silent, had begun to track their every move. "Captain, we're being followed," Lieutenant Harris reported, his voice steady but tinged with concern. "I can't get a clear read on their positions, but they're definitely there. Their signatures don't match any known ships from our data." Ray's jaw tightened. "How many ships are there?" she asked, her voice calm, but laced with urgency. "At least 3, possibly more," Harris replied, his fingers flying across his control panel as he tried to pinpoint the sources of the mysterious energy spikes. "They're maneuvering in and out of our sensors, staying just outside of detection range. Whoever they are, they're good." A heavy silence filled the room as Ray took in the information. For the first time since the Titan's launch, she felt the weight of the unknown pressing in on them. The crew had been prepared for deep space exploration, for meeting new alien species, but this was different. They were being watched. And worse, they had no idea who was watching them or what their intentions might be. "Continue monitoring, Lieutenant," Ray ordered. "We can't afford to make any mistakes. If they make a move, we need to be ready." The crew went to work, tension mounting as the hours passed. Every minute felt like an eternity. On the outer edges of space, the silent alien ships continued their pursuit, their motives hidden behind a veil of mystery. The humans aboard the Titan had no way of knowing that the alien factions, the Krell and the Vantok, were already preparing for war. The aliens had never encountered a ship like the Titan, and their fear had only grown with every passing moment. Meanwhile, the crew of the Titan tried to maintain their routine, but the uncertainty was eating away at them. For the first time, they felt vulnerable. Captain Ray had always prided herself on her ability to stay calm under pressure, but even she couldn't shake the unease gnawing at her. They were too far from Earth, too isolated, and too inexperienced in the ways of galactic warfare. What would they do if the aliens decided to attack? The Titan was a weapon, yes, but the crew was still learning how to use it. They had never tested its full capabilities in combat. No one could say for sure whether they would survive a real confrontation. Then the unthinkable happened. A blip appeared on the radar, clear, strong, and unmistakable. A massive alien fleet had just appeared from hyperspace, emerging from the shadows of deep space like a nightmare made real. There were at least 20 ships, their sleek forms glinting in the starlight. The size and power of the fleet were enough to make even the seasoned officers of the Titan's crew pause. These were no scout ships. This was an invasion force. "Captain, they're hailing us," Lieutenant Harris said, his voice suddenly shaky. "It's a standard communication request, but their ships are too large. They've outmaneuvered us completely. We're trapped." Ray's mind raced. This was it, the first real test of humanity's new warship. She could feel the eyes of the crew on her, waiting for a command. Their future and the fate of Earth rested in her hands. "Put them through," she said firmly, her voice steady despite the growing panic within her. The holographic display flickered, and a stern-looking alien appeared. His skin was a deep shade of violet, his eyes glowing faintly with an eerie light. He spoke in a language that was foreign to the crew, his words sharp and cold. But the translator on the Titan's system quickly adjusted, and the message became clear. "We are the Vantok," the alien said, his voice like gravel. "You are trespassing in our territory. Your ship is a threat to the stability of the galaxy. You will turn around and return to your homeworld, or we will destroy you." The crew was silent. Ray's mind spun as she processed the words. The Vantok had come, and they were not here for friendly diplomacy. They were here for war. "We are not your enemy," Ray said, her voice calm but firm. "We come in peace. We are just exploring the galaxy, trying to learn more about the universe. We pose no threat." The Vantok's expression remained unmoved. "You are too naive to understand," he sneered. "Your ship is an abomination, a weapon of destruction. You are nothing but a weak species that does not belong here." The message ended abruptly, and the hologram flickered out. The alien fleet moved into position, surrounding the Titan on all sides. Ro could feel the crew's anxiety rising, but she knew that showing fear would only make things worse. She took a deep breath, drawing on every ounce of her training and leadership. "Battle stations," Ray ordered, her voice cold with determination. "Prepare for combat. But no matter what happens, we stand our ground. We are humanity, and we will not back down." As the crew scrambled to their posts, Ray stood tall, her eyes scanning the viewscreen. She knew that they were about to face a battle unlike anything humanity had ever experienced. The aliens were powerful, and they were not going to give up easily. But the Titan was humanity's first warship, and it was built to defend Earth and its people. Whatever happened next, Ray would make sure that the Titan would fight with everything it had. The countdown to battle had begun. The Titan lurched as its weapon systems powered up, ready to defend the ship from the overwhelming alien force surrounding it. The crew scrambled, securing their stations and bracing themselves for the worst. The hum of the ship's engines was now a low growl beneath their feet, adding to the tension that had already reached a boiling point. In the command center, Captain Ro gripped the arms of her chair, her knuckles white. She knew the stakes were high. This was the moment when everything would change, for better or worse. The Vantok fleet loomed large in the viewscreen, their sleek ships positioned in tight formation. They were surrounding the Titan, creating a barrier that seemed impossible to breach. Ray's mind raced as she thought about their options. She had been trained for combat scenarios, but nothing in her training could have prepared her for a battle against a force like this. The aliens' firepower was massive, their fleets towering over their own ship, and yet Ray felt something stir inside her, a sense of pride. Humanity was here, standing up for itself. "Prepared to engage," she ordered, her voice steady but carrying the weight of responsibility. "Lieutenant Harris, can we get a clear shot at their lead ship?" Negative, Captain, Harris replied quickly, his fingers flying over his controls. Their shields are too strong. We can't breach them with our current weapons. If we fire without precision, we'll just waste energy. We need to break through their line, Ro muttered, more to herself than anyone else. If we don't, we'll be trapped. Can you target their communication arrays? If we cut off their coordination, we might stand a chance. Harris nodded, understanding the strategy. Aiming at their comms now. It's risky, but it's the best shot we have. Ray watched as the energy readings from the Titan's weapon systems flickered to life on the holographic display. She could feel the ship humming with potential, a reminder that despite the odds, the Titan was humanity's first line of defense, and it would not go down without a fight. Outside the ship, the Vantok fleet remained silent. Their ships were armed to the teeth, their weapons poised for destruction. But something had shifted. Despite the overwhelming firepower, there was hesitation. The Vantok had never faced a species like humanity before. The Titan was a new element in the galaxy, and the unknown always carried risk. The aliens were confident in their strength, but they couldn't help but wonder if they were underestimating the humans. Target locked, Harris said. Firing in 3, 2, 1. A brilliant flash of light erupted from the Titan as the ship's advanced energy weapon fired. The beam tore through space, a streak of raw power that collided with the lead Vantok ship's communication array. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze: the beam, the shockwaves, the stares of the crew. Then, the alien ship erupted in a shower of sparks and debris as the energy weapon pierced its shields, leaving it vulnerable to the strike. Direct hit, Harris shouted. Their comms are down. They're scrambling to reorganize. Good, Ray said, her eyes locked on the view screen. Now we take advantage of the chaos. Fire all weapons on my command. The Vantok ships began to break formation, their coordinated movements disrupted by the loss of communication. The fleet's response was disorganized at first, and that was all the Titan needed. Ro could feel the tension lift slightly, but it was short-lived. The battle had only just begun, and they were far from safe. Captain, incoming fire. Lieutenant Jackson, the ship's weapons officer, called out urgently. They're retaliating with energy blasts. It's a direct hit. The Titan shook violently as the first blast hit its shields, but they held firm. The ship's energy reserves flickered, but the shields remained intact. Roy knew that the Titan's shields would not hold forever. They needed to finish the fight quickly before the aliens had a chance to regroup. Return fire. Full power to the front lasers. Aim for the enemy ship's weak points, Ray ordered, her voice a calm command that carried through the chaos. We can't afford to be cautious now. As the ship fired, the crew felt the full force of the battle. Each shot sent a jolt through the hull, but it was nothing compared to the desperation that hung in the air. The crew was fighting not just for survival, but for humanity's place in the stars. The Titan's weapons blazed with fury, cutting through the alien ships with precision. In the distance, 2 Vantok ships exploded in flashes of light, their disintegration leaving behind nothing but burning wreckage. The battle was shifting. The aliens were starting to panic, their arrogance giving way to fear. They had underestimated the Titan, and now they were paying the price. But even as the tide began to turn, Ray knew they couldn't let up. The Vantok were powerful, and their pride was vast. They wouldn't give up easily. Push forward, Ray urged, her gaze never leaving the view screen. We need to break their line and escape. Keep them off balance, but don't get too aggressive. We can't afford to waste ammunition. Harris nodded and continued to fire at the remaining Vantok ships. The Titan maneuvered through the debris, dodging incoming fire and weaving between the scattered remnants of destroyed ships. Each movement was calculated, each shot measured, as the crew worked together to fend off the alien onslaught. But there was no time to celebrate. As the last of the Vantok ships retreated, another wave of ships, this time from the Krell, emerged from a nearby asteroid field. Their dark silhouettes glided silently through space, far more ominous than the Vantok. The battle was far from over, and now the stakes had escalated even further. The Krell were known for their ruthless efficiency and deadly firepower. They wouldn't give the Titan the chance to escape this time. "We need to think fast," Ray said, her voice tight with determination. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We can't let the Krell get a clear shot. Brace yourselves, we're going to make a run for it." The next phase of the battle was about to begin, and the Titan would face an enemy even more terrifying than the last. The fate of humanity now rested on the shoulders of this one ship and its crew. The Titan was already pushing its limits. The hull groaned with each evasive maneuver, its energy reserves dipping dangerously low as Ray pushed the warship to its maximum capacity. The Krell fleet, a dark presence in the cold void of space, was closing in fast. Their ships were larger and more powerful than anything the Vantok had sent, their weapons designed for total annihilation. Captain Rowe knew they couldn't outrun them. Their only option was to outfight them. "Captain," Harris called out, his voice tense with urgency. "They've locked onto our engines. They're preparing to fire on our propulsion system." Ray's eyes widened for a split second. If they lost their engines, they would be sitting ducks. The Titan might be powerful, but without propulsion, it would be easy prey. "Lieutenant Jackson," Ray barked, "I need full power to the engines now. Don't let them target our systems." "We're pushing the limits, Captain," Jackson replied, sweat beading on his forehead as he adjusted the ship's power flow. "The engines are at full capacity. I can't give them more power without risking a core overload." "Do what you can," Ray ordered. "Keep us moving." The ship shuddered again as the Krell closed in, their energy weapons charging. Ray glanced at the viewscreen, watching the dark silhouettes of the enemy ships drawing closer, their firepower crackling with menace. The Titan was fast, but not fast enough to evade them completely. She knew this would be their toughest fight yet. "Brace for impact," Ray shouted. The first shot from the Krell fleet hit the Titan broadside, a massive beam that shook the entire ship. The shields held, but the impact sent a violent tremor through the hull. The crew staggered, but quickly regained their balance. Ray held onto her seat, her fingers digging into the console as she barked orders. "Return fire. Lock onto their lead ship and hit them with everything we've got." The Titan responded with fury, its weapons lighting up the darkness of space with brilliant, blinding energy beams. The first few shots hit the Krell ships, but the shields held strong. The Krell were known for their impenetrable defenses, and the Titan's weapons were struggling to make a dent. The battle was quickly spiraling into a desperate struggle for survival. "Captain, we need to fall back," Harris said, his voice strained. "We're outnumbered, and our shields are at 50%. If we don't retreat now, we're not going to make it." Ray's mind raced. Retreat was an option, but it wasn't an easy one. The Krell would never let them escape. If they ran, they would be pursued, hunted down, and destroyed. They had to stand their ground. "No," Ray said firmly, "we fight. We're not leaving until we've proven that humanity won't bow to anyone. Full power to the forward shields and forward guns. We make them regret ever crossing our path." The crew, sensing Ray's unyielding resolve, redoubled their efforts. They fired relentlessly at the Krell ships, each shot sent with the weight of their survival behind it. The ship lurched under the impact of another blast, but the crew didn't falter. The Titan was more than just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's defiance, of their unwillingness to be cowed by the larger, older powers of the galaxy. Then, just as the battle seemed to reach its peak, a sudden surge of energy flared from the edge of the battlefield. Ray's eyes widened as she watched a third force, one neither the Krell nor the Vantok had anticipated, enter the fray. "Captain, we've got incoming," Lieutenant Harris shouted. "It's another fleet, but they're not Vantok or Krell. It's—" Ray leaned forward, squinting at the new ships on the view screen. The new fleet was unlike anything she had ever seen. Their sleek, angular ships glinted with a dark, almost crystalline sheen. They moved with the precision of a well-oiled machine, each ship in perfect formation. There was no mistaking it. This was another faction, and they were here to make their presence known. "Who are they?" Ray demanded. Before anyone could answer, the mysterious fleet opened fire. The sudden onslaught caught the Krell completely off guard. Their shields flickered and then collapsed as the unknown ships unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that ripped through the Krell fleet like paper. The Krell ships tried to retaliate, but they were overwhelmed, their massive forms tumbling out of formation as the alien ships fired with deadly precision. The tide of battle had shifted. The Krell, caught between two forces, scrambled to regroup, but their confidence was shaken. The new fleet had thrown a wrench into their plans, and now the balance of power was in flux. Ro couldn't believe what she was seeing. Was this new fleet here to help them? Or were they just another threat? "Lieutenant Harris," Ray said, her voice sharp. "Can we hail them?" "We're trying," Captain Harris said, his fingers flying over the controls. "They're not responding. It's like they're not interested in speaking with us." Ray watched, her breath caught in her throat, as the unknown fleet systematically obliterated the Krell ships, their energy weapons carving through the dark void like a hot knife through butter. The remaining Krell ships retreated, their fleet broken and in disarray. The Titan, battered but still standing, took a moment to regroup. The crew stared at the carnage unfolding before them, unsure of what to make of it. The new fleet didn't seem to care about the Titan. Their focus was entirely on the Krell. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. The Titan was still surrounded by enemies, still in the heart of hostile space. But now, they had a glimmer of hope. The question was, who were these new allies? Could they be trusted? And what did they want? "Status report," Lieutenant Jackson, Ray said, her mind still racing. "How's the ship?" "We're battered, Captain, but the shields are holding. We've got some minor structural damage, but we can survive. For now." "Good," Ray said, her voice steady once more. "Let's take this opportunity to regroup. We need to figure out what just happened and prepare for what comes next." The Titan had survived its first great battle. But the mystery of the new fleet and the intentions of these mysterious aliens loomed large in Ray's mind. Whatever had just transpired, one thing was certain: humanity was no longer a bystander in the galaxy. They had entered the arena, and they had made a mark that would be remembered. The question now was whether that mark would be a blessing or a curse. The battle for humanity's future was only just beginning. As the last remnants of the Krell fleet vanished into the void, Captain Ray sat in her command chair, her eyes never leaving the view screen. The Titan had survived against impossible odds, but it wasn't over. The unknown fleet, whose ships still lingered ominously in space, was a mystery they hadn't yet solved. Were they allies or another threat waiting to reveal itself? Ray's mind raced as she weighed their options. They had been pulled into a galactic conflict much larger than they could have ever imagined. Now, they needed answers. "Captain, the alien fleet is holding position," Lieutenant Harris reported, his voice tinged with caution. "They're not advancing, but they're not retreating either. It's like they're waiting for something." Ray nodded, her brow furrowed. "I want to know everything about them. Can we analyze their ship designs?" "We're trying, Captain," Harris replied. "Their ships are unlike anything we've encountered. Our systems can't get a solid read on them. They're emitting strange energy signatures, almost like they're cloaking themselves, but not in the traditional sense." "Great," Ray muttered under her breath. "Just what we need, another puzzle." There was a brief pause before Harris spoke again. "Captain, they're initiating a communication. It's direct, no subterfuge." Ray's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the moment they finally got answers? Or was it the calm before the storm? She knew that whatever came next, it was critical. With a deep breath, she sat up straighter in her chair, her eyes narrowing as she watched the holographic display flicker to life. A figure materialized before them. It was humanoid tall, and wrapped in a dark cloak that seemed to absorb the surrounding light. Their face was hidden in shadow, but their presence was powerful, commanding. The air around them seemed to ripple, as if their very form bent the space it occupied. Captain Ray of the Titan, the figure spoke, its voice smooth and cold, yet oddly familiar. "We have been watching you. Your actions have drawn the attention of the galaxy, and it is time to speak." Ray's instincts screamed for caution, but she forced herself to remain calm. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the knot of tension in her stomach. "And why did you intervene in our battle with the Krell?" The figure tilted its head slightly, as if considering her words carefully. "We are the Aravok," it said at last, the name unfamiliar and strange. "We are an ancient race, one that has existed long before your kind discovered the stars. We have no interest in your war, Captain, but we have been observing the rise of humanity. You have potential that both excites and alarms us." Ray blinked, trying to make sense of what she was hearing. "Why help us? Why not let us fight our own battles?" The Aravok's eyes gleamed through the shadow of their hood, an unreadable expression on their face. "The Krell are not your true enemy. We intervened because they are a threat to the balance of the galaxy. But you, Captain Ray, are not yet ready to understand the full scope of what is at play here." The room went silent as Ray processed the words. The Aravoks seemed to know more than they were letting on, and Ray could feel the weight of the truth hovering just out of reach. They were standing on the edge of something monumental, something that could change everything. "Then what do you want from us?" Ray asked, her voice sharp but composed. "If you're not here to help us, why bother?" The Aravok seemed to smile, though it was impossible to tell behind the cloak. "We are here because your ship, the Titan, represents a shift in the galaxy's power structure. You have begun to challenge forces much older and more powerful than yourselves. That is a risk, but it is also an opportunity. If you wish to survive, you must learn quickly. The galaxy is not what you think it is. The Krell, the Vantok, they are just pawns in a much larger game." Ray's heart raced. "What do you mean by a larger game? Who is playing it?" The figure stepped closer to the holographic projection, its presence even more intimidating up close. "We will not answer all your questions, Captain, for you are not yet ready to know the full truth. But understand this. Your arrival in the galaxy has not gone unnoticed. There are forces at work that seek to manipulate the course of your species. The Krell are only one faction in this war. There are many others, each with their own agenda. If you wish to preserve the future of humanity, you must act swiftly and decisively." Ray clenched her fists, a surge of determination rising within her. "What do you want us to do?" "Join us," the Aravok said, its voice steady and unwavering. "We can offer you protection and knowledge, but in exchange, you must be willing to play the game. It is a dangerous game, and the stakes are higher than you can imagine. You are not just fighting for Earth anymore. You are fighting for the future of the galaxy." Ray's mind swirled with the implications of the Aravok's words. The fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, now rested in their hands. Could they trust these ancient beings? Was their offer one of true alliance, or was it another form of manipulation? And what did it mean to play the game? Before Ro could respond, the Aravok's image flickered and began to fade. "Think carefully, Captain," the voice echoed as the figure disappeared into the shadows. "We will be watching. Time is running out." The communication ended abruptly, leaving Ray and her crew in stunned silence. The Titan was still battered from the battle, its systems strained to the breaking point, but the weight of what had just transpired hung heavy in the air. The Krell had been defeated for now, but the true enemy had yet to reveal itself. "Captain," Harris said cautiously, his voice low, "what do we do now?" Ray exhaled slowly, her thoughts racing. The Aravox warning was clear. Humanity was at the center of something much larger than they had ever anticipated. But the question remained, could they trust these mysterious beings, or were they simply another power trying to manipulate Earth into a war it wasn't prepared for? First, Ray said, her voice firm, we need to regroup and assess our situation. We have a lot to figure out. But one thing is certain, we can't turn back now. Humanity has made its mark on the galaxy, and will be ready for whatever comes next. The crew nodded, a renewed sense of purpose filling the room. The battle was far from over, and the galaxy had just become a far more dangerous place. But humanity had something the galaxy's ancient powers didn't account for: determination. And that determination would drive them forward, no matter the cost.